Welcome to QOSI Training Institute, where we provide quality education for tomorrow's technology careers. Feel free to give us a call or email us for more information. Thank you for watching.
Just to give you a background, software quality assurance, like everybody's familiar with software, we work with different programs, we work with, web applications online, we do commercial off-the-shelf applications, and all of these applications that are built by different companies need to be tested by a group of people that we call software testers or quality assurance engineers. And our ultimate purpose is to validate the application to make sure that it is sound enough before it is released to production. When I say production, I'm talking about the real world. In other words, when you go to facebook.com and you see that they've changed an application or changed the way the layout is or things of that nature, someone inside of Facebook organization already went to the application and did what they call software testing, independently verified and validated that that specific module or component is sound enough, has been developed soundly enough for you and I to go into Facebook the next day and actually use the application. So basically what I want to do today is talk about the different test types or the industry recognized test types that we use. Again, there are probably over 20 different types of testing, but they're just about 8 core ones that we use day to day because they are basically the most important types of testing. And today I will start by talking about unit testing. Unit testing in most organizations is done by the development team or the developers, the people that actually develop the code. Essentially, what are they doing? Well, they built a piece of functionality for you and they said, hey, QA, here it goes. They deploy it to your environment and they say, it's time for you to go and test it. Well, before you accept it and you start testing, you want them to have done a piece of testing on it, which is called unit testing, or in some environments we'll call it dev testing. Just because, like the word says, it's done by developers. So they independently test that unit or that module that they are getting ready to send to you for further testing, and they now establish that it is sound, it is good enough for you, the testers, to go and do more aggressive or in-depth testing of the application. So the starting point typically after a piece of software has been built is for the developers to do unit testing and then send it over to QA for further testing. Is there any questions on that? Straightforward. The second type of testing is smoke testing, or what in most organizations we call stability testing. Smoke or stability testing. Essentially, after your developers have finished certifying that they've tested the code or they've unit tested the code, and you and I say, okay, bring it into QA. We will start doing our testing. After writing our test plans and test cases, the first thing that we want to do is to do smoke testing or stability testing. Check how sound the application is indeed, because it's one thing for developers to say, oh, this site is good, or this application is good, or this component is good, and expect you to start testing, and the reality might be that it is really not stable enough for you to test. I'll give you an example, like we talked about, exuberance.com being a shopping cart. www.exuberance.com being a shopping cart for people to go and purchase items. And maybe a developer works on the men component, so we have a section for men and we have a section for women, and then we have a section for kids. Well, if he made a change to the men's section and deployed it to you to test, and what he changed, for example, let's say he added he added an extra size for men. E.g., he added XXL. So assume that before now you only had small to XL, and he came in and added XXL so that the products could be ordered up until that size. Well, when you came into the application to do smoker stability testing, you went straight to the size chart, and then you went to the drop down of size chart, and anytime you try to select either small, medium, large, or XL, an error throws up and you get maybe an unhandled expression error. For example, you get an unhandled exception error, something just blows up, maybe in red or something of that nature, and it says, well, this size cannot be found, or something of that nature. Well, the site is not stable enough. And what happens in the real world is that a lot of times when developers work, they build their code on their laptop, desktop, or maybe over the server, and someone else that does what they call configuration management will go and pick all the pieces together from different branches. They have something they call SVM that is used for code tracking, and then they bundle everything together as a package and then deploy it to your QA server. Well, what might have happened was that someone missed one specific package. So even though when you click the drop down you did see XXL on the drop down, well, the engine or the stored procedure that lies behind it that lets it function so that when you click it, it actually populates that product size into the cart may have been destroyed, or something may have happened to it. And then, when you came in and did your smoke testing and clicked on that size, it just blew up through that error. Well, that application is not stable enough for further testing. So what you do is you put in a bug in the bug tracking tool, and then you send it back to developers and say it's not stable enough.
Now, the question I do have about that is, for the XXL in this situation, is it only at the situation where you're trying to get the drop down, it immediately identifies that something wasn't pulled in for XXL, so it gives you that error? Or is it when you go to click on XXL that it gives you that error?
It could be either or.
Okay.
So in other words, maybe first time you pull the drop down and you're about to select XXL, something blows up. Or it could be after you clicked XXL and then you're expecting it to now populate into the cart.
Gotcha.
Typically what you may not be able to determine is what dependency is broken, but for a fact that it was in the process of trying to select that option, and this was the only thing that was new. So this assumes maybe the product has been in testing already, and you already knew prior to them implementing this new size, what used to exist, small to large, was fine, it was functional, was good. But by the introduction of this, something was thrown off and destabilized